Hey everyone, this is Corey with Casual EDC, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Alliance Designs Laconico Jasmine Signature Series. A little bit of a mouthful there, but let's get into this a little bit. Start off with some size comparisons. First off, we're going to bring in the Benchmade bug out. A little bit longer overall than the bug, the bug out's just a little bit longer overall. Just a little bit in the blade, and we're also going to bring in here the Victorinox Cadet, which is the 84mm model. As you can see here, not a very big knife, but also not a small knife at all. And you can see it's got quite a bit of a thickness here to it, which we'll get into in just a moment. Let's start off with some of the things that I really like about this knife. You're looking at M390 steel with a really nice thin grind for slicing, decent blade stock thickness, so you don't have to worry too much about beating on the spine of this guy. Really good action as well on these bearings. Nice and smooth. No issues with deployment or with getting this closed. Nice and easy operation. One of the other things I need to mention here is that this normally has a fully satin blade. I did a custom acid stonewash to this. I thought it would look nice. Potentially still going to dye these scales here. But I really like the way it turned out, aside from one small area where I overmasked. But that's not going to affect this review in any way. We're going to talk about this just like it would be if you received it straight from Alliance Designs. You're looking at a blade length of 3.125 inches and a close length of 4.25 inches. As I said, M390 steel, and your blade stock on this guy is going to be 0.146 inches. So a little bit over 1/8 of an inch. A nice drop point blade with that flat grind, like I said, makes for a really nice thin edge. Really gives you some nice slicing ability. Comes down to a good point. So if you do need to pierce and slice, it's going to do the job for you just fine. Some few little things that I had problems with this knife. We'll start with the handle. I'm going to open the blade up here, and we're going to take a look at how thick this handle is. This guy is chunky, to say the least. It's got quite a thick handle here. So I'm going to set this down, and I'm going to bring in the bug out here. And the bug out's a thin knife, so you have to keep that kind of a thing in mind. So you can see the bug out there. And I'm also going to bring in the Protect Malibu, which I'm going to leave closed so it'll stand up. And you can see, if we look at the two of them, I'm going to move them side by side here. Let's close this. It's still substantially thicker than the Malibu is, and this still has to get a whole button lock mechanism in there. So you're looking at a real thick boy here, with big slabs of G10 as the scales. They were not messing around when they made this guy. This comes in at 4 ounces because you're looking at steel liners. This is a budget piece for Alliance. When I say budget, these are about $125. You're not going to find any jade in stock anywhere, I don't believe, but I am looking right now at Knife Center's website, and there is some orange G10 in stock, if that's your thing. But yeah, big slabs of G10 with these steel liners, so it's a heavy knife, and it's thick, so it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. Not that it's uncomfortable to carry or use, but normally when I'm rocking with a knife like the bug out, thin, lightweight, or the TRM Atom, same kind of thing, very thin, very lightweight. This is a big change for me, but it was still very pocketable. The design on this guy fits nicely into the pocket. The clip is nice too, so it kind of leans away from your pocket. It kind of leans towards the back. So as you reach into your pocket, you can reach right past this, and it's really no issue at all. So I was surprised at how this carried, despite being as thick as it is. Speaking of the thickness once again, these scales were originally very sharp on the corners. Not gonna like dig into your hand sharp, but just uncomfortable to hold. They were very blocky, I think is a good way to put it. Everything was very squared off. There was very little chamfering around the edges, and that made for a super uncomfortable experience in the hand, at least for me. I prefer my scales on any knife to have a little bit of contouring, or at least have a good chamfer on the edges to take off that edge. And this was very bricky, very blocky, very brick-like in the hand. So I got in there with some sandpaper, with some 80 grit, followed by 150, and I just did a little bit of rounding on this guy. So I'll just show that off a little bit. I just held some sandpaper on an angle and sanded in that kind of a direction. I did this to both sides of the scales. I didn't do the bottom or the top, so there's no need, so your hands aren't really there, but I did do the inside and the outside of both scales, giving it just a little bit more of a rounded feeling in the hand, which really helps hold on to this knife and made it feel a lot better during use for me. One other thing that this knife had a little bit of an issue with was access to these thumb studs. As you can see on the left side here, the stud gets pretty close to the scale and it doesn't protrude by a whole lot. So you can see how there could be an issue getting to that stud. It really doesn't come up above the scale at all. And keep in mind, I also have sanded these down slightly. So it was really tough to get to these thumb studs. You can do it to middle flick, but I would miss the flick a lot with my thumb when I first got this knife in. So as I did the rounding in here, I also added a little bit of a scallop, which you can kind of see the way the light is hitting the G10 here. Just sloping that little area downward a little bit more, giving some access to the thumb stud, made a real big difference. And this is all done by hand. It's really not difficult to do for anybody, but it made a huge improvement on this knife for me. Great access now on this side. You can see it still is hidden by the scale, but you look down this way and you can see how much that slope helps access the stud. At least I'll try and show it to you. I hope this hope it's kind of obvious here that I can get much more underneath this on the side that I sloped down and scalloped out, rather than on this side here where I'm just making contact with the top of the stud. I'm actually getting underneath that edge of the stud on this side. So a few little things, but they were certainly not earth-shattering issues, but some quality of life things that I would like to have seen done differently on this knife, but were easy enough to fix myself. Overall, it's a really nice knife. I do enjoy this piece. I don't think it's going to stick around. Like I said, I may do some more mods to it before sending it off, but it's a good knife. It's hard to say no to this. If the design is what's speaking to you, I would go and get the higher end version. Personally, I think if you're going to have a 4-ounce knife anyway, and it's going to be M390 or RWL 34, I think the higher end ones are RWL 34. I would just go and get one of those. It's about $100 extra to get the titanium version with the thumb studs, and that also has some holes in the handle as well. And if I can find the stats for that really quick, I will pull that up for you. I'm looking at the stats and everything on my computer here. So let's see, this was speed holes. I don't know if it's going to tell me the... I don't think they have the stats for this. Let's see. Sorry, I know it's a little bit of an awkward silence here, but no, Alliance Design's website does not have the weight on the titanium design that has some oval holes in the handle, but I would think that it would be considerably lighter than 4 ounces, as it does have 3 large ovals, excuse me, here, and here in a titanium scale. And those are also contoured scales. So that's going to take a lot of the work that you might have to do to make this knife comfortable out of the equation. And looking at it now, it's listed at $330 from Alliance Designs, opposed to this version here, which you would be looking at $125. So a big jump, over double the price. So a little bit more than I thought. I apologize for misspeaking. But if you're going to go all out with this one, I would go and get the more expensive version, just because it's going to be a little bit lighter. Same great design, and it's going to fit your hand. It's going to fit the hand nicer as well. You're not going to need to do any of the modifying to get it to be comfortable or to have better thumb stud access, that kind of thing. Overall value, though, sorry, I keep saying overall value, though, $125, you get an M390, really nice action and a good grind. That alone is worth some good money right there. So Alliance did do a good job. I know I just recommended the more expensive version, but if this is what you can afford, I think you'd be very happy with this. It's a great knife. It cut really well. It carried nicely, and I don't have too much bad to say. My complaints about the finishing or things that were easily fixed by myself, and that's not too bad of a thing. You'd like to see it be a little bit better coming straight from the factory, but beggars can't be choosers, and they did make this guy less than half the price of the more expensive titanium version, so that has to be kept in mind. Overall, let me know what you guys think about this knife and Laconico designs in general. I'm a big fan of Ray's work, but I would like to continue to see some more designs come out. And yeah, he makes some really nice everyday carry knives, and his designs are really well suited for EDC. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate all the support. Channel's been doing really well recently, so thank you guys so much for everything. We appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, let me know what you think about this guy down in the comments below. And if you own any other Laconico designs, or if you own the more expensive one of these, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like it was worth the money? Do you think the upgrade is worth it? Or do you think that this is where their sweet spot is? Let me know what you think. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching. Take care.